It's a Conspiracy is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown and community supported. For other fun programming, please check out albertapodcastnetwork.com, where you can find shows like the Turf District podcast.
It's a conspiracy!
There was the X-Files episode that had Cher in it.
Cher was in one. Are you serious? Are you joking? Okay,
More or
I don't.
less. No,
Okay.
it was implied that she was in it, but she wasn't actually, I don't think. This is one of the great episodes, the black and white one, where it's like an Elephant Man send-up.
I think I have seen that. I should clarify. I haven't seen a whole lot of X-Files, and the ones that I have seen, it's been a long time. Are we ready to go then?
Let's rock and roll.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, so this is our X-Files poster special, I Want to Believe. Welcome back, everyone, to It's a Conspiracy. This is the podcast where we lay out the beliefs behind selected conspiracy theories, alternative accounts, legends, myths, and more. I'm your host, Andrew, and I do not claim to be an expert on anything we're going to discuss today, and will probably be wrong about everything because I just got back from a 12-day journey across Canada, which was amazing. And my two children were very well behaved the entire time and didn't make the drive stressful at all.
Oh, good.
Yeah, everything in that sentence is true except for the part about my kids. No.
Isn't that why you have kids?
Yeah. Oh,
To learn how to have better patience?
The patience was tested this recently, but it was good. Electronics is a game changer. Giving a kid an iPad and being like, here, watch this, and like you can download stuff and games, and it's amazing. So it has changed the game.
You're one of those parents.
Yeah, I do feel bad for my parents in the 80s because I was like, I don't want to look out the window, and I just pester people.
Shut up and look out the window. See if you can see any more cows.
Those drives are long and painful and hot, and now, as always, if you'd like to see which hypercolor sweatpants or action pants, as Lord Charlie likes to call them, we've got hiding by they're right beside the radical sunglasses you got from Pizza Hut. Then go ahead and check out the episode description. Charlie does his best to bring the party. Charlie party. So if you want a little Charlie party time, then check that out, and you can have a little Charlie party time. Charlie party.
That sounds like it should be a new podcast I start up. Charlie Party.
The Charlie Party.
Or maybe that's my Twitch channel. Come join the Charlie Party. All right.
And we are a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network. Yay team, yay friends, yay squad. Quick shout out to Shane Lawrence. Not going to get into it, but he's an awesome guy and we love him very much. And just Shane, we care about you, buddy. You can check us out at itsconspiracypodcast.com. Our Twitter at Is It a Conspiracy? That's run by the social media influencer, the Irish Madman. Our Facebook group, our Instagram, It's a Conspiracy Podcast. That's run by Gorgeous Greg. Our email and our Patreon page, patreon.com/
It's a conspiracy.
Ooh, that was nice. It's been a little while. I had to say it last time and I was like, Wah.
I forget what I'm supposed to say. I had to really, it was a long reach to get to that button. So you'll have to edit that silence out.
And I almost hit the ejection seat button. Whoop. Now, righty then, joining the online distance communication time today is the sweet secret agent man himself, Charlie Scream, Inspector Charlie Scream. This polished up Glock 9 will interject as he sees fit. And I do so appreciate the online digitally distanced company. Yay, friends. Yay. Yeah. Yay, friends. Now, Charlie, let's do this here. Now, you are can I just clarify this off the top? You are an X-Files. You're like when someone's like, I'm a cinephile. I'm of the good files. I'm a foodophile or whatever you want to call it. A francophile. Would you call yourself an X-file?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're into this stuff.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to rely on your expertise. Okay, not that I don't like it. Your expertise. Thank you. Now, with a okie dokie or noki dokie, can you tell me if you're familiar with these two topics?
Let's do it.
Okay. So number one, the X-Files I Want to Believe poster.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I know you can't see it because this is an audio podcast, but I have said poster right beside me on the wall here, and it's been staring down since episode 1.
It's right beside your autographed Roadhouse poster. Is that Patrick
Roadhouse.
Swayze's? Is that Patrick Swayze's autograph?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely it is. I definitely didn't see someone who just looked like Patrick Swayze in the mall and badger them until they signed a picture for me. Definitely.
Okay. Now number 2, 10 fun X. Oh, sorry, not 10. Oh, geez, 10. What?
I'd have to call you out on that one.
5 fun X-Files fan theories.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we're going to conclude with a little what are we watching? We haven't done that in a while. So are you familiar with what are we watching?
I am quite familiar. Well,
Okay.
I'm half familiar with what
Half.
we're watching.
Okay. All right. So this is going to take us to subject numero uno, the X-Files I Want to Believe poster. All right. Now that sweet X-Files poster, the one that Charlie has hung up behind him, hopefully everybody knows which one I'm talking about. It's the one that hung in thousands of college and university dorm rooms through the 90s and early 2000s. It was often right beside the Pink Floyd one with the naked ladies with the album.
All the butts.
All the butts. Or the Scarface poster, or Moulin Rouge, or Reservoir Dogs.
Hold
I don't
on
know
a
if this
second.
sounds familiar.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. That was in a
Where
few
were you in? That's a terrible movie.
Now, maybe it was just my circle of friends, but that poster, I saw it on a lot of walls. A lot of friends' places had it, and I was like, "Yeah, I love that poster." And it was kind of like a rallying thing, like, "Oh, I just a chance to talk about the X-Files."
Okay. I'm glad you're still talking about the I Want to Believe poster and not the Moulin Rouge poster.
No, that was about the Moulin Rouge poster. So are we?
Damn.
So I was
Awkward.
Oh. Now, the X-Files poster, back to that. The
All right.
X-Files poster itself is a fascinating insight into what made the show such a bloody, scathing delight to sink your teeth into week after week in both a pre-internet world and then a kind of sloggy dial-up world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing to me that this came out before the internet was sort of like widely available, and it ended when everybody was like ready to duke it out on
Big time logged on.
on
AOL.com.
LiveJournal or Ask Jeeves or whatever gross thing was on the late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Just no good. But that wasn't the show's fault. I Want to Believe might be the kind of thing that an X-File fanatic would have engraved on their tombstone. It's basically, you could say, I hope this is fair enough to say, it's kind of the philosophy of the show. It's definitely the mantra of the main protagonist, Mr. Fox. I'm not really into kinky stuff, Mulder. It's one of the few elements that remain steady through the show, kind of. It's on the wall in the creepy basement during the pilot episode, and it made its way in a version up into the reboot from a few years ago. It even serves as the title of that awful 2008 movie that we don't talk about because it was bad. You know the one I'm talking about?
I know the movies, yeah.
And it's not good, so we're not going to talk about it unless we have to, but we shouldn't. Now, Chris Carter, the George Martin figure of the X-Files, he put the poster together himself. Did you know that?
I did not know that part.
He did. He was like, he couldn't find quite exactly what Fox would have on his wall. So he claimed the saying was inspired by a picture of a spaceship he'd found. And the simple statement was a moment of creative genius. He was like, let's get to the meat of it. What does he really believe? And he wants to believe. In a somewhat horrific turn of events, it turns out that the original photograph was copied from a magazine that Mr. Carter had come across. And the original photographer, one Billy Meyer, was never credited or compensated for the billions and billions made in sales of the poster and the show and all that kind of stuff. The title of the movie. Yeah. So this is why in season 4, the UFO is slightly flatter and it kind of changes in different versions. So the background is a little bit different. Sometimes the framing is different because really copyright rules. The kryptonite to copyright is make it flatter, take out the border. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to show you this real quick here. May I share something with you, sir? Would
I'll
that be
allow
okay?
it.
Okay, thank you. Have we got... Where is the share screen? Okay. Press. Okay, there we go.
Press
no
the
share
key.
sound and share. Now, do you see this here? Look at this.
Sure.
Okay. So these are the different versions. You can see this one here, the season 1 to 3, season 4, 5, and 10.
Mhm.
season 6 to 9. And then the movie that we don't talk about. So not a huge difference, right?
No, just slightly askew.
Mm-hmm. But you could definitely say that the first one here, it's set the format, you could say.
Absolutely.
Like if you didn't know this, you might even think that this was all the same poster. Is that fair enough to say?
If you weren't, a stickler, if you weren't happy to look at that poster all day long, kind of thing, while you're sitting at your desk.
Now this isn't the first time the poster would be changed, as you can see from that image. So it changed a couple times. Now the poster depicts a very convincing alien spaceship, maybe the mothership. We're not exactly sure. Maybe it was the very one that abducted Mulder's younger sister, Samantha. When he was a child, she thought she's gone. Maybe it was the one that brought the bees that take over people, and they shoot bees at you when they're screaming.
The bees!
And they bring cancer, some of the aliens, or they cure cancer. Sometimes they steal babies. Sometimes there's robot bug probe droids, alien hitmen, the Men in Black. Sometimes Cher shows up. Sometimes Alec Trebek shows up. So whatever was in that spaceship, that might have been the one. It puts forth the uncertain notion that if anything is possible, then all preconceived notions are uncertain at best, which I am down with that kind of logic. You know what I mean? I want to believe, and that could be the actual moment that it all happened. Now, the most of the time partner, because there were other partners, we'll get to that. So the most of the time partner and quasi love interest of Mulder is the, dare I say, angelic Dana Scully. Oh my. She's a skeptic. She's a scientist. She does a lot of sciencing. She's all about evidence seeking. She's all about the sources. And she's basically just a real badass who does not want to believe in anything except like the things that have evidence and can be proven. Now, the glaring exception to this is she has very personal and private religious beliefs throughout the show. So her slogan may as well be, I don't want to believe. Now, this of course, is similar to my own personal slogan of I want cheeseburgers and Charlie's life goal of I can has chicken.
Yeah.
So, we've all got variations of this, the theme and variations. Now, what needs to be pointed out here is that I want to believe is not the same as saying I believe everything. It's an openness to an impossible. It's a willingness to shed personal convictions. It also kind of has a dark undertone for the cynical in that it suggests I want to believe, but I don't know if I can. And maybe this is all there is, even though I just saw billions of galaxies on the new James Webb Telescope thingamabob the other day because me uncle changed his user picture to that on Facebook. Now, not to get commenting on religion, but you could say that I want to believe the phrase that could be equally embraced depending on your point of view by, atheists and theists alike, people that are, either reject the higher meaning or see a higher meaning. So the I want to believe, it's such a simple sentence, but it has so many different ways it could be taken.
Yeah.
So complicated. We could say that.
Just really not for existentialists. They're sort of left out of that boat.
Now, one of my favorite episodes, speaking of this here, and the more I thought about it, I was like, actually, this is probably where I started thinking about conspiracy theories to begin with. You've probably seen this one. It features a lonely kid who spends a lot of time playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think his name is Blaine or Blake.
Okay.
You know who I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
And he really wants to be abducted by aliens. So his whole life goal is like, he just really wants to get abducted by aliens because he hates the town he's in. He wants to be special. And when Mulder's asking him about it, he's like, well, I don't want to find a job. And I'm like, man, that speaks to my heart. He's like, I don't want to worry about that. So that's the real quest, right? Like, he's like, why don't I just get abducted by aliens? I don't want a job. Ugh. Now, the fun epilogue to this whole thing here is that towards the end of the series, around 2002, Mulder's replacement, Doggett, Doggett rips the poster off the wall, rolls it up, and leaves with it. So have you seen this episode?
You know what? I have seen them all at least once, but I don't really. I've never gone back and watched the later seasons when Doggett's there.
You don't say. Okay.
Yeah, for some reason.
We're gonna come back to that. Okay, please remember you said that. Okay, because go Charlie, go. So let's that's an amazing thing to say for something else that's coming up. Now, Doggett rips it off the wall, rolls it up, leaves with it. So the outrage at this was palpable and created kind of a mini controversy, as it was the last remaining item in Mulder's office, and just bloody too far, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The poster it reappeared, including the pencil holes from Mulder, because he would throw pencils at it, which I don't like that, but I'm fine with that. It's a nice poster, and there's no need to throw pencils at it. So the poster did reappear in the 2008 film that we already mentioned is crap and didn't happen. Now, also in the 2016 mini series, did you watch the mini series?
I did watch the restarts.
Okay, so the poster is back, and this time it's in Scully's office, where she is quick to point out that this is her own copy.
Yes.
So it's one that's free from the grubby hands of Doggett. Why would he do that? The nerve to go into someone's office and just take down a poster and leave with it.
It's a dick move.
It is. Just don't do that. Anyways, that's the X-Files poster. Cool little story. And hopefully the guy did get some money for his picture. I hope. I don't know. Probably settled out of court because there's not a lot about it, but maybe I didn't see that either because I was investigating this in a rushed manner.
What?
Oh, yeah.
No.
No. Now that is going to take us into asking each other about what have we been drinking lately. So, Charlie, what are we? What?
What are we drinking? Well, I'll tell you what I'm drinking.
Oh, I can't wait.
I've been drinking some from our good friends down at Sea Change Prairie Fairy.
Nice.
It's a blackberry wheat ale, 5% in collaboration with Fruit Loop Society, a YEG LGBTQ2+ community nonprofit organization. Prairie Fairy is a wheat ale with a refreshing tart explosion of blackberries and raspberries. Pours a fierce opaque pink. It's got blackberry and raspberry flavors that's tart, not sweet, with a simple, clean malt bill. That's Prairie Fairy by Sea Change. Get you some.
Oh, yeah. It's real good. I'm normally not but I can't drink out of the can. I have to pour it into a glass and then drink it from there with my pinky high in the air.
So
I'm not that guy, but what I will say about Prairie Fairy, you really can't appreciate the color unless you poured it into a glass. And the color.
True. It's hard to see the color of the beer through the can.
That's right.
You are also enjoying.
That's right. Because you can't see with your tongue.
Depends on how many edibles you've had, but
I don't know if you've heard about this before or not, but there is a combo, which I'm also not crazy about people combining beers, but this one has such an amazing name that it has to be noted. Sea Change features their award-winning The Wolf, and they have, of course, their Prairie Fairy. So you can order a pint of both of those mixed together, and it's the Were Fairy.
Oh, woo!
Now, I just got back from my little sojourn over to the province of Ontario, and I was in North Bay, and I tried something from the good people at Amsterdam Beer. So were you ever into Kenny versus Spenny?
A little bit. I do remember it. I did enjoy an episode here or there.
There was an episode where Spenny gave Kenny enough money to go to Amsterdam briefly. And he's like, I need to do this mission. So just take this money and go to Amsterdam. And Kenny's like, fine, I'm off to Amsterdam. Tots yen. And he actually goes to Amsterdam Brewing. So when I saw it was a real place, I was like, oh, yay. Because I do love that show. Now, they make some real good beers. The one I tried a few, but the one I'm going to talk about here is called 3-Speed Lager. 3-Speed Lager is perfect for any occasion, whether it's a hot summer day watching the baseball game or enjoying a nice meal. It has been brewed using a true lager yeast and aged for 26 days for a smooth taste and finish. Quick shout out to Super Champs Jesse and Jacob for providing me with those. I crushed them later on that night while playing board games. It was amazing. It was why I won. I have never won Sorry in my life, the game Sorry. I did not win Sorry that evening, but I almost won. So it was close. And I was like,
had to have another pint and then you would have won.
I would have had if I'd had a third one. But yeah, you can
Sorry.
only drink. Yeah, it's Story is the most infuriating game in the world. You know, there's always that person that gets the 4 right when they get out of the start place and they get to go up their thing. And I don't know. And yeah, that's going to take us to advertisement numero uno.
This episode of It's a Conspiracy is brought to you by Bloom. Want to get a handle on Edmonton's growing innovation scene? Take a listen to Bloom, Taproot's newest podcast. Each week, hosts Karen Unland and Faiza Ramji will discuss the latest developments in efforts to solve new problems and diversify the economy. Find out who has invented what, who is investing in whom, and what is on the horizon. Find Bloom wherever you listen to podcasts or visit bloom.taprootedmonton.ca.
Alrighty, we're back. We're on subject number 2, 5 excellent X-Files fan X theories. Right, then here are a few of the important fan theories that we came across on the internet. Now, Charlie, there are a lot of fan theories about this show. You were mentioning that you'd come across like 30 of them.
Oh, there's plenty.
Okay.
And plenty and plenty.
Is it safe for me to, like, can I assume that you're familiar? Like, you know, I know you don't know what they are, but like you've watched the show enough that you should be familiar with these.
Should be.
Okay. And you just stop me if you're like, wait, I have a whole habab. You know, just go. Yeah, just let me know.
Tell me, what do you got, buddy?
Okay, so excellent X-Files fan theory number 1: Scully is immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in season 3, Scully and Mulder meet a psychic named Clyde Bruckman, whose special power is that he can see how everyone is going to die. Now, at one point, this is a creepy question, Scully asks him, "How do I die?" And he puzzlingly replies, "You don't."
Mm-hmm.
Now, later on, she also gets in a picture with the Grim Reaper. And one time she was in a bank that kept blowing up and it wouldn't. She also has a baby that grew up really quick and has alien superpowers that were deactivated. Some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, maybe she's immortal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of that one before?
I've heard of that one, and that comes from one of the top, in my opinion, top episodes.
Oh,
so there's a handful of episodes around that time written by a chap named Darren Morgan, and in my opinion, he's like probably the best, or at least up there in the top 3 X-Files episodes writers. And this Clyde Bruckman's Final Repose is one of those best. It's around season 2, end of season 2, start of season 3, where like that's where they were firing on all cylinders. So if you are listening to this and maybe you haven't quite gotten into the X-Files and you're like, what's the deal with that X-Files anyways, right? I recommend going and checking out the Darren Morgan episodes. They're all a little quirky and they got really cool stuff like, Scully becoming immortal.
Immortal.
Yeah.
She has to go around finding other immortals and cutting their heads off at that point. Number 2, excellent X-Files fan theory is the Smoking Man is using alien technology to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, by all accounts, the Smoking Man, named so because he smokes so much, should be dead. Not only does he smoke like one of those ladies at bingo night, but he was also shot by a rocket in season 9. He fell down the stairs a couple times. All sorts of things have happened to the poor guy.
He should be a lot more worse off than he is.
Yeah. Now, however, there was an episode that introduced an alien artifact that heals anyone touching the artifact. So maybe Mr. Smokes Too Much keeps one of those with him at all times.
Yeah.
Now, on a creepy note, it has been suggested that the Smoking Man might actually be the father of Scully's alien child. Ugh. So,
yeah,
I don't care for that part of it, but
I don't much like that. No, sir.
Number 3, excellent X-Files fan theory is the you're familiar with Parks and Recreation, I'm assuming?
Absolutely.
Okay, so Parks and Recreation and X-Files are happening in the same universe at the same time. Oh. There is an episode in which Mully and Skulder are searching for a Frankenstein's monster type. They end up in Indiana and they have breakfast at JJ's Diner, which is the same diner that is featured in Parks and Recreation. This is the diner that has those waffles that Leslie likes. So damn
That's
much.
damn waffles. Did you say Mully and Skulder on purpose?
I did say Mully and Skulder on
Okay,
purpose.
good.
Thank you for noticing. I was proud of myself for getting over that without tripping and
You
laughing. Now you mentioned something earlier here. So you were saying it's at a certain point you just kind of dropped off and you weren't sure why.
No, I know why, but that's that's fine. It was still all good. It was still the X-Files, but yeah, I did drop off. I mean, I've watched it at least once, but I did not go back to those seasons on the rewatches at all.
The later seasons you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
The later seasons.
So if you had to guess, why would that be?
Not enough Mulder.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, the actual reason is that George W. Bush had the X-Files canceled and convinced everybody to stop watching it.
No, George.
You're a cog in the system, man.
George. I feel played.
Now, after nearly 10 years of using the FBI to promote the concept of government conspiracies, the sad events of September 11th, 2001 happened. So it has been said that in the aftermath of this, GWB decided to censor or interfere with anything that made the government look bad or suggest that they were up to anything. Now, I don't think anyone would believe the American government has ever done anything shady, right? Oh, that's just silly. Anywho, the show was pulled down because it just ruffled too many feathers, but it had also been a long time, and David Duchovny had kind of left, and nobody really liked his replacement. The writing was getting worse, a little tired, etc. But also, W just was not having it. Speaking of W, number 5, this is excellent fan theories. Lastly, and this is truly far-fetched.
Ooh.
So John Doggett, the D-O-double-G, is actually a good character. Ooh.
That's the theory.
That's the theory. Bit of a stretch. So he has a strong moral compass. He pushes the envelope, and he is secretly made of a menic polyalloy developed by the evil robot minds at Cyberdyne Systems in the distant future of 2029. Now, fun fact, when he's flying the police helicopter in Terminator 2, he's actually shown with 3 hands. So he's got 2 hands reloading his machine gun and 1 hand to fly the chopper. Now, you need to see this thing, man. Okay, so here is Doggett. Look at this. Do you see this here? 3 hands.
Oh, come on. What is happening here?
He's reloading the machine gun with his top 2 hands, and his 3rd hand, which is kind of coming out of his thorax.
I was gonna say, maybe he's just got like an opposable.
So yeah, I know there's a connotation of someone having a 3rd arm, but like no, he's clearly got 3 hands there. He's got two right hands. Yeah, and he's flying the chopper.
It's a regular 3-hand stand.
So yeah, Farmer Doggett was
A good character.
with 3 hands in Terminator 2, which is crazy. Okay, now the bonus fun fact here.
Bonus.
Yeah, so bonus fun fact. Skulder and Mully were actually in an 80s new wave band. Okay?
Oh, what?
Now, I know this is a bit of a thing here, but just wait till you see this picture and then you'll be like, absolutely, they 100% are from like Sweden and play music with lots of synthesizers. Look at that.
That is 100% legit and definitely not a face swap. 100%. Got to put that on all the socials.
This is amazing. There's so many things to find in there, like their outfits, and like the hair is matched perfectly. Oh man.
Well, I'll tell you a little something Alberta centric.
Oh, I love it.
A fun little thing from where we hail from is that, and this is our buddy Quinn has hipped me to this. He said that in one episode there is a snow globe, and the snow globe is from Vegreville. It says Vegreville on it.
No way. Yeah, what?
And people we know have been searching for. That was not something that you could find. That was a prop made for the show. But people, I know people who have been searching for it for a damn long time.
Are there other Vegravilles, or have we got the only Vegreville? That seems like a name that might be in other places. Like I'm always astounded to see other like other Vancouvers. There's a Vancouver in Washington. I'm like, what? That's not our Vancouver.
I brought up a real quick. Oh yeah, perfect. I'll just if you'll allow me to share my screen.
I'll allow it. Absolutely. Thank you for asking first.
That time that Vegreville was in the X-Files.
Oh man, that is wild.
So it's a little the big giant egg,
and it's got the absolutely yeah. That's our Vegreville. There might be another Vegreville, but there's no other like Ukrainian centric giant.
Absolutely.
Giant egg Vegreville.
Yeah, there you go. For the Burtons out there.
Mm-hmm. That's quite exciting. Okay, now that is going to take us to advertisement number 2.
With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout-out to Is This For Real? Is This For Real is a podcast about various facets of Black life in Edmonton. In the first season of the show, Breaking the Blue Wall, host Omar Salafu explores anti-Black racism in policing and tells stories about policing in schools, accountability in Alberta's policing system, and the impacts of police violence on Black Edmontonians. You can listen to the podcast and read more about each episode at isthisforreal.ca. You can also support the work of these podcasters and future seasons on Patreon.
We haven't talked about this in quite some time here. Now, it's outside of opinion time here. I guess the X-Files are awesome. Like, I kind of didn't watch a whole lot after about 1996. I kind of dropped off at that point. I really didn't like the last movie. I never watched the miniseries, but I was always like, oh, this is a great show. And I would watch it when it was on. I wasn't quite as into it as other people were, but you're a big X-Files fan.
I was right on. Load me into the X-Files truck because I'm going to the farm. Let's go. I think actually it's funny. This would definitely have been my into the whole conspiracy world and all that, and monsters and all those sorts of things when I was young, because my mom would watch the show, right? And I would be in the room or whatever, and then I would eventually just start watching it as well, and then just be legit into it. So, I've definitely watched my fair share, plus somebody else's, plus like your fair share, and a couple other people's fair shares as well.
Yeah, like you've watched enough for like all of us.
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's that doesn't release you from your quota.
I still have to catch up at some point. I really would like to rewatch the series. Like, that's one of the cool things. You recently rewatched the entire thing?
Well, I'll tell you, a couple of seasons anyway. So there was, so there's this comedian actor, Kumail Nanjiani, and a bunch of years ago, he started a podcast called The X-Files Files. And he would go through, and it was kind of like a watch along, right? Like watch an episode and then do an episode about it, where he talks about trivia from it, neat things. Just like, he'd bring other people on who maybe had never seen it before, and they watch the episode and they give their opinion about it, usually other comedians. It was pretty great. Eventually, he got a little bit more into it and got some of these writers and actors and things to be on the show. And I mean, he didn't get all the way to the end of the series, but I mean, I don't know the behind the scenes story, but ... he ended up in one of the last 2 seasons of the reboot. Of the restart, he got to be a character in it. So, like,
really
super fan to part of its legacy.
That is amazing.
So I followed along for the first couple of seasons and was just like, this is great. Remembering all these things, which is why I can say things like, "Oh yeah, go watch the Darren Morgan episodes because those are fire." Yeah,
one of my favorite episodes that sticks out to me is the Vince Gilligan written episode that has maybe a pre-Malcolm in the Middle Bryan Cranston, and he's trying to drive as fast as he can before his head explodes.
The rough bare bones to the feel of what would go on to become Breaking Bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's so many comparisons. I don't like the whole thing of people being like, "Oh, they must be in the same bloody universe because of blah 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 blah." I think Vince Gilligan was like, he saw how Chris Carter was running his show and was like, "That's how you do it. This is how you make it cool, and don't shy away from the crazy stuff." And without X-Files, there's a clear marker with, it's really easy to see in action movies where there's like movies before the Matrix and then movies after the Matrix.
Mhm.
I think X-Files just set the bar so high for shows and kind of didn't keep that consistency themselves, maybe, but initially they set it up so high that everyone was like, man, we gotta try a little harder to make things like fun.
Well, and that's it. Like they were like, there's the two different kinds of episodes. There's the mythology ones, or there's the mythological ones, like the overarching big, story, and then there's the monster of the weeks, which of course is where I stole the term for my segments on this show, Monster of the Week. Charlie Scream's Monster of the Week.
Yeah.
And like the Monster of the Week ones were always like a little more loosey goosey, a little able to try things like the time they did basically an episode of Cops, Ex-Cops.
Yeah.
Like that was great. You know what, they do a black and white episode that's like very Elephant Man, and that's the one that implies that Cher was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's lots of great things where they're just like, let's give this a try. Let's try this. And maybe it doesn't work. And maybe sometimes there's not great episodes, but at least it's always like, it's still an X-Files episode, right? It's still got that fun in it.
Yeah, and fun was always kind of at the core. Like even when they were doing like their funny episodes, even in the non-funny episode, there would be some element of like that kind of line between gross and fun, or like a little comic line, like the one with the psychic guy Clyde Bruckner.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a funny episode, even though like a lot of people die and it's got a real grisly undertone. It's actually, there's a lot of kind of funny moments. Like I think that dude was like a famous comedian from like the 60s and 70s.
What's his name? That is Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle. Yeah.
That goes great.
There was another one too that featured the guy from Spinal Tap. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And he was a weather. He could control the weather. And like they would never. There was the one where they met the traveling freak show. I don't really like the term freaks, but it was like the Jim Rose.
Right. The
circus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was hilarious. And then of course there's the one with like the vampires. Like super funny.
The one with the vampires where Mulder dates a vampire briefly. Is that one? That's the one we're talking about. That one, not one of the better ones, but it's cheesy and still funny, right?
Oh, so funny. I think that was the first time I saw, I don't know which one's which, but one of the Wilsons. So not the Wow Wilson, but the other Wilson. I think it's Owen or Luke.
Wow.
Yeah. No, okay. Not that one. The other one. Cause he's in it as like a cop in the vampire one. And like Scully like remembers him as being this like really handsome, like kind of southern gentleman, and Mulder's like, yeah, this like hillbilly with like buck teeth. Like it was
right.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Now speaking of Kumail Nanjiani. I hope I'm saying that right. Okay.
Kumail Nanjiani.
I thought we'd do a little segue into what are we watching, which is something we haven't done in quite a while.
Sure.
And I was going to talk about Doctor Strange, but when you mentioned that, I was like, man, he showed up in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it was like a really cool surprise. So that was great. I liked it a lot. I like the ending. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but okay, let's just say spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, stop now, fast forward, whatever you want to do.
Fast forward for a minute or so.
Totally.
We'll spoil something else for you later.
Turn off your phone and throw it in the river.
Yeah, just right out the window of the car that you're driving.
Okay. I hope we're all safe now. Now, in the end, have you watched it yet, Charlie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the end, I loved that Obi-Wan Kenobi just started chopping off Darth Vader's buttons. He was like, I'm going to chop your buttons off. Because for years, people have been like, why don't they try to just deactivate his breathing apparatus? Yeah. And I'm like, he chopped his buttons off. and there's a lot to say about the series, but I thought Hayden Christensen was great. And I loved the scene when he was like speaking and you could hear his voice with like James Earl Jones happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I thought it was great. I loved it. It wasn't perfect. And if you didn't like it, if you're listening to this and you're like, whatever, you're a jerk for liking that, like whatever, like what you like. But like, I thought it was good. I really liked it. And I loved that finally the buttons just got chopped off, which I thought was great to see.
I'll say when it started, when we started watching that season, I wasn't into it at first, but
yeah,
after an episode or two, I was like, okay, fine. It kind of found its legs. And then I was like, all right, this is okay.
Yeah.
There was one episode we were watching when they were already at like the underground spaceport kind of thing, the hideout. And then in real life, like it was crazy. We're just sitting there watching it. And then out of nowhere, you'd start hearing this like super high pitched squealing noise, and we're like,
My
what
goodness.
what the heck is happening? What the hell is happening in this show? And we pause the show and realize, no, babe, that's coming from our fridge. So our fridge had a meltdown and the control board broke or whatever it was, just in the middle of that. But it was funny because it took a second to be all like, what the hell is this stupid show doing? Oh, wait, it's not this show. It's real life, you know, because it sounds like mechanical, like it could be a droid or like, is somebody breaking into this secret hideout? What's happening? No, it turns out our fridge was just breaking.
Just at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a profound coincidence there. That's your fridge in solidarity with the other droids happening. It's like, we're not just your slave, man. We're not just your toy.
Yeah. The fridge sees that it could be more than it is.
Mm-hmm. It is. And it's not just a fridge. It keeps things cold, but that's not what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's so what are we watching?
Well, you only got one? You only watching one thing?
I had the one. I saw Doctor Strange and I was gonna make fun of it.
Right,
I just like it was people are like, oh, it's scary and it's fun. I'm like, it was like a bunch of like Saturday Night Live sketches kind of slapped together with some cool visuals. I thought it was badly acted and Cumberbatch with his like,
hold on.
Illumawati.
I went and saw. Let's talk about it for a second then, because I saw Doctor Strange as well, and I got like just like a third of the way through the movie, and I was like, this feels so weird and campy. But then I realized that what's his name directed it?
Sam Raimi,
and I was like, oh, this is Evil Dead Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And that's and then I had a blast afterwards because I was like, oh, this is sweet. This is totally like, you know, all the effects and stuff like that. Exactly. Like, and then of course Bruce Campbell shows up and you're like, yeah, this is excellent so I need to go back and rewatch it just with that lens, you know, with that, like, this is Sam Raimi. This is an Evil Dead movie essentially with superheroes. There's
moments of brilliance in it, but I just kind of overall, everyone was like, oh man, it's so good and it's creepy. And it's like, I don't know. There was some kind of neat surprises, but overall. And then once again, spoilers, I guess, if we're going to do some spoilers here. We were talking before we started recording today about Star Trek Brave New Worlds or Strange New Worlds, which I haven't started watching yet. And Anson Mount, so Captain Pike, was in Doctor Strange's Black Bolt, and he was like, I'm sorry.
Blow your head up, melt that
just
shit.
Blow your head up with his voice. Yeah. And I thought when she's like, what mouth? And he had just like a stubbly lump.
That's it. That's totally all those weird, fun, creepy effects. You know,
totally.
Like
there were moments, but overall,
that's what it's all about. And like, and if we're already in the spoiling part, when Professor X rolls in and they just do that little riff from the X-Men cartoon from the 90s, it's like
excellent. Yeah,
that's money right there.
Totally. This sounds strange, but anytime I go to turn on my barbecue, I'm like, like I'm off to do some dad time. Like, so I don't know why, but I do love that theme.
Going into the danger room.
Yeah. And the claws. I hope they bring back that theme because they're going to make an X-Men movie at some point.
They're actually going to reboot that cartoon, the 90s cartoon. They're just going to start making new ones. So,
but I think a new movie is probably sooner than later, and I hope they have that theme as the movie theme because it's just it's a slapping.
That would be excellent. Excellent. So I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I have been watching Strange New Worlds, or as my wife and I like to refer to it, Hot People in Space. It's Hot People Star Trek, but that's okay. We're still all there for it, and we totally enjoyed that season and can't wait for the next one. That's one of the things I've been watching, but then nicely to add to the X-Files universe-ness of this whole episode, we've also been watching, I've been catching up on this show, Sex Education. Are you familiar with it?
I am not.
It is Gillian Anderson as a sex therapist, and it's not like she's one of the main characters, but it mostly is about her son and the school that he goes to and all the crazy stuff that happens at this school that is very, very sex education-y.
Okay.
So she plays this sex therapist in it. And it's excellent because I'll watch her in anything because she's Gillian Anderson.
Totally.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the puns, you should say it's sexcellent.
Sexcellent.
Even though that's a bit of a problematic. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's great. She was in Hannibal as well.
She was in Hannibal. She was
The
in
Light.
American Gods for one season, and that season, or yeah, she was in American Gods for a season.
Yeah, she's been doing stuff. She's is great. Yeah,
keep doing it.
And ageless. Maybe she really isn't immortal.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Yeah. Well, right then, agent friends from the Federal Bureau of Friendship, thank you so much for swinging by. Now, in the meantime, if you're needing some sexual tension in your working relationships, Mulder and Scully style, then slide into our past casts and social media stuff at itsconspiracypodcast.com. All right, we will be back at some point in the summer, and of course, season 5 will start on September 1st.
Hey.
All right, take care. See you soon.
Bye. I know, wait, were you a shipper?
A who?
Were you enough of a fan of the show? Were you a shipper of the X-Files?
Yeah.
A shipper is someone who is really pulling for Mulder and Scully to get together.
No.
Relationshipper.
Keep them apart. That's the whole crux of it, as it were. Yeah. I keep them apart. Don't let them get together.
Okay, good. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's
would have
where
been
the real magic is, in that tension.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jim and Pam, keep them apart. Once they get together, it's all over.
They did not keep them apart. They were together for a good chunk of the season. That series.
That's when it stopped.